Stop scrolling. Seriously, stop right now. If there's a wheat penny anywhere near you, in a drawer, a jar, your pocket, your car console, you need to freeze. Because some of the most dangerous pennies in America look completely harmless, and people are spending them every single day without realizing what they're throwing away. I'm talking about hidden wealth, silent fortune, the kind nobody talks about until it's too late. If the date on your wheat penny ends in certain numbers, do not spend these coins. Not at the store, not at the gas station, not anywhere. Collectors are fighting behind closed doors. Auctions are exploding quietly. And real auction shock is happening right now. Check your pocket now, because these coins change everything. And here's the scary part. Every coin we cover today gets rarer, more valuable, and more dangerous to ignore. Stay with me till the end, because once you see what's hiding in plain sight, you'll never touch a wheat penny the same way again. First up, this penny feels ordinary. That's the trap. If you held this coin in your hand right now, you'd feel nothing special, just a small, brown, worn piece of copper that looks like it's been through 1,000 cash registers. And that's exactly why people lose fortunes without even slowing down. The 1950 wheat penny, without a mint mark, is one of those coins that slips through fingers, wallets, and history, while collectors quietly obsess over it. Do not spend this coin. That single mistake can erase a silent fortune in seconds. 1950 wasn't a calm year in America. The country was still tense, still healing, still adjusting after World War II. The economy was shifting fast. Industries were expanding, inflation pressure was real, and the U.S. Mint was under enormous stress to keep coins flowing for a growing population. Pennies were being struck hard, fast, and endlessly. Dies wore down. Details softened. Quality suffered. And that pressure created something collectors crave today. Coins that survived the chaos untouched. Pick this penny up and really feel it. It weighs about 3.11 grams, solid in the palm, with a diameter of 19 millimeters that hasn't changed since the early 1900 AS. The thickness sits around 1.55 millimeters, thin but firm, and the girth feels smooth, almost slippery from decades of circulation. That physical feel matters, because collectors can sense originality instantly. This coin isn't flashy, it's honest. And honesty is rare. On the front, Abraham Lincoln stares back with quiet authority. His portrait looks simple, but collectors zoom in on the smallest things. The sharpness of his jawline, the separation in his hair, the strength of the date. And that date, 1950, is everything. No mint mark under the year means it came from Philadelphia, and that missing mint mark is exactly what drives obsession. These were produced in massive numbers. Yes, but surviving examples in true original condition, that's where the supply collapses. Flip it over. 2 wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent, a design that feels nostalgic, almost forgotten. The reverse tells a story of an America transitioning into a modern powerhouse. This coin is made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, and over time, that copper reacts with air, dirt, and history. The best examples carry deep, natural toning, warm browns, darker edges, sometimes even subtle reds hiding underneath. Never clean this coin. Cleaning destroys value forever. That original surface, that dirt, that darkness, that's proof of survival. Most 1950 pennies were abused. Tossed, scraped, cleaned, melted, lost. That's why finding one today in very fine condition is so rare it makes collectors tense up. They want untouched metal, original strike, honest wear. Because once a coin is cleaned or altered, the story dies, and so does the value. Collectors fixate on tiny details most people miss. The spacing in the date, the The strength of the wheat lines. The smoothness of the rim. Signs of minting stress from overworked dies. These aren't flaws to them. They're fingerprints of history. And this is where it gets serious. At auctions, this coin doesn't scream. It whispers. Bidding is quiet, controlled, and aggressive. Collectors don't brag about owning it, they hold it. They lock it away. Supply keeps shrinking while demand keeps rising. And that's why today, a genuine 1950 wheat penny without a mint mark, in very fine original condition, carries a market value around $145,000. That's not hype. That's serious money. Life-changing opportunity money. You're holding a silent fortune if this coin crosses your path. Here's what most people get wrong. They rush. They spend. They clean. Or they sell too fast. What you should check first is the date, the missing mint mark, and the surface. Look for original color, natural wear, no shine, no polish. Patience creates wealth in this world. And professional grading is critical. Without it, the market won't trust the coin. Stay till the end of this video, because what comes next is even bigger. The next coin we're exposing is rarer, scarier, and even more dangerous to ignore, and most people spend it without a second thought. Next up, this is the kind of penny people laugh at. The kind that gets tossed on a counter, dropped into a tip jar, or forgotten at the bottom of a drawer. And that's exactly why it's dangerous. The 1958 wheat penny without a mint mark doesn't scream rare. It doesn't shine. It doesn't beg for attention. It waits. And while people keep spending it like loose change, collectors feel their stomach drop when they see one slip past unnoticed. Do not spend this coin. This is hidden treasure playing dead. 1958 was a pressure cooker year in the United States. The country was on the edge of massive change, economically, politically, culturally. The post-war boom was slowing, inflation anxiety was creeping in, and the U.S. Mint was racing against time. Why? Because 1958 was the final full year of the wheat penny design. The end of an era. The Mint knew it. Collectors know it, and that knowledge creates obsession. Think about what that means. Millions of pennies were struck under deadline pressure, with tired dies, rushed inspections, and one foot already stepping into the Lincoln Memorial redesign. When something is about to end, quality slips, and rarity is born. That's why 1958 matters. It's the last breath of a design that defined American money for generations. Hold this coin in your hand. It weighs about 3.11 grams, still dense, still solid. The diameter is 19 millimeters. Familiar but comforting, like something from another time. The thickness sits near 1.55 millimeters, thin enough to disappear in a pocket, which is exactly how fortunes vanish. The girth feels smooth and slightly rounded, softened by circulation, yet still strong enough for collectors to recognize authenticity instantly. This physical presence matters. Originals feel different, and collectors can tell. On the obverse, Abraham Lincoln's portrait feels calmer than earlier years, less sharp, more worn, almost reflective. Collectors zoom in on his coat lines, the separation in his hair, the clarity of the date. And then their eyes drop. No mint mark. That missing letter is everything. Philadelphia strikes from 1958 are heavily hunted because they represent the final chapter of wheat pennies made at scale, yet surviving cleanly is shockingly rare. Flip it over, and the reverse hits differently when you know the truth. Two wheat stalks stand tall, framing 1 cent, like bookends on history. This was the last time Americans would see wheat on their everyday money. Most people never notice that. Collectors feel it emotionally. This design isn't just art, it's closure. The metal tells another story. This coin is 95% copper with 5% tin and zinc, and over decades that copper develops a natural skin. Deep browns, dark edges, sometimes faint red hiding underneath like a secret. That surface is sacred. Never clean this coin. Cleaning strips away history and value in one careless move. Original toning isn't dirt, it's proof of survival. Here's why survival is rare. 1958 pennies were everywhere. They were spent hard, hoarded casually, and later dumped when people realized wheat pennies were old but common. Many were cleaned by amateurs trying to make them shine. Others were damaged, bent, or lost. Very fine condition examples that are untouched, original, and honest. That's where the supply collapses. Collectors fixate on microscopic details most people miss entirely. The sharpness of the wheat lines, the rim integrity, the evenness of wear across the coin. Signs of minting stress from overworked dies. Slight softness in lettering from production pressure. These aren't flaws, they're fingerprints. And fingerprints create desire. Auction rooms don't get loud with this coin. They get tense. Bidding is quiet, calculated, and aggressive. Collectors don't flip this penny. They hold it. They lock it away. They wait. Demand keeps climbing while supply keeps shrinking. That imbalance is deadly. Think good way. Right now, a genuine 1958 wheat penny without a mint mark, in very fine original condition, carries a market value around $115,000. Let that sink in. That's a silent fortune disguised as a forgettable penny. Serious money. Life-changing opportunity money. The kind people accidentally lose every single day. If you ever find one, slow down. First, check the date. Then the missing mint mark. Then the surface. Natural color, no shine, no polishing. Never clean it. Ever. And don't rush to sell. Professional grading is critical. The market only trusts what it can verify. Most people miss this. That's why collectors win. Stay with me, because what comes next is even more dangerous to ignore. The next coin we're exposing is rarer than this, more emotionally charged, and has triggered real auction shock, and almost nobody sees it coming. Next up, this penny scares collectors for one reason. It looks too normal. The 1949 wheat penny with a D mint mark is the kind of coin people don't even pause on. Brown, quiet, worn just enough to feel old but not important. And that's why fortunes disappear. This is one of those coins people accidentally lose, spend, or hand over without a second thought. While collectors feel their pulse spike the second they recognize it. Do not spend this coin. This is hidden wealth pretending to be spare change. 1949 was not a peaceful year in America. The country was standing at a crossroads. World War II was over, but the tension hadn't left. The Cold War had begun tightening its grip. Economic pressure was real, industrial demand was exploding, and the U.S. Mint was being pushed hard to supply everyday coinage for a rapidly changing nation. Denver, marked by that tiny D, was under intense production strain. Speed mattered more than perfection, and that pressure is exactly what makes this year dangerous to ignore. Hold this coin, and you can feel the history in it. It weighs about 3.11 grams, with a diameter of 19 millimeters that feels familiar but heavier with meaning. The thickness is roughly 1.55 millimeters, slim, almost fragile. And the girth feels softly rounded, the result of decades of circulation that never quite erased its soul. Coins like this survived wallets, wars, and generations. Most didn't. On the obverse, Lincoln's portrait tells a deeper story than newer strikes. The details aren't sharp, they're honest. Collectors study his cheekbone, the outline of his coat, the spacing of the date, and then their eyes lock onto it. the small D mint mark beneath the year. That letter changes everything. Denver minted wheat pennies from 1949 were struck under heavy stress, and far fewer survived in original antique condition than people realize. Flip it over slowly. The reverse is where emotion hits. 2 wheat stalks stand tall, framing 1 cent, a design that symbolized American stability during uncertain times. This coin isn't shiny, and that's exactly what collectors want. The surface carries deep, natural toning. Dark browns, earthy shadows, an antique skin that only time can create. Never clean this coin. Cleaning doesn't improve it. It destroys the very thing collectors pay for. The metal composition matters too. This penny is 95% copper with 5% tin and zinc, and copper remembers everything. Air, moisture, handling, they all leave signatures. That antique surface is proof the coin hasn't been tampered with. Once that surface is stripped, the value collapses forever. Here's why survival is rare. 1949 pennies were workhorses. They circulated hard during a period of economic adjustment. Many were cleaned by mistake, polished by curiosity, or damaged by time. Others were melted or lost. Finding one today in very fine antique condition, untouched, original and stable, is where scarcity becomes real. Collectors fixate on details most people never notice. The alignment of the mint mark, the depth of the wheat lines, rim strength, subtle dye wear from rushed production, slight softness in lettering that proves authenticity. These tiny details trigger emotional bidding, not logic. At auction, this coin doesn't explode with noise. It tightens the room. Bidders lean forward. Numbers climb quietly. Aggressively. Collectors don't resell this penny, they hoard it. Demand keeps rising. Supply keeps shrinking. And that imbalance is why this coin has crossed into serious money territory. Today, a genuine 1949 wheat penny with a D mint mark in very fine antique condition carries a market value around $150,000. That's a silent fortune. Life-changing opportunity money. The kind of value people lose without ever knowing what slipped through their fingers. If you find one, slow down. Check the date. Confirm the D mint mark. Study the surface. Natural color. No shine. No scratches from cleaning. Never clean it. Ever. And don't rush. Professional grading is critical because patience is how collectors turn history into wealth. Most people miss this. That's why this coin keeps shocking the market. Stay with me because the next coin we're exposing is even rarer, more volatile, and has caused collectors to break their own rules just to get one. Next up, this is the penny people throw away first. The ugly one. That split-second decision to ignore it is exactly how a 6-figure fortune disappears. The 1953 wheat penny with D mint mark and dark spotting is one of the most misunderstood coins in US history. Do not spend this coin. What looks like decay is often the very reason collectors lose sleep over it. 1953 was a strange year for America. The country was shifting leadership, rebuilding confidence, and pushing production harder than ever. The Korean War had just ended, inflation pressure lingered, and everyday commerce exploded. Pennies were needed in massive quantities, fast. At the Denver Mint, speed mattered more than perfection. Dyes were overused. Metal quality varied. Environmental storage conditions were inconsistent. And that chaos created coins that aged differently. Pick this penny up and feel it. It weighs around 3.11 grams, still dense despite its worn look. The diameter is 19 millimeters, standard, unremarkable, which is exactly how it hides in plain sight. The thickness sits near 1.55 millimeters, thin enough to be overlooked, and the girth feels slightly uneven, softened by circulation and time. This coin doesn't feel pretty. It feels real, and collectors crave real. On the obverse, Lincoln's portrait looks darker, moodier. The black spots catch your eye immediately, scattered across the surface like shadows. Most people think that's damage. Collectors know better. Those spots are often the result of natural copper reactions over decades, moisture, air, storage, and circulation interacting with a 95% copper, 5% tin, and zinc alloy. That reaction creates a surface you cannot fake. Never clean this coin. Cleaning strips away the very evidence collectors pay for. Below the date sits the small but powerful D mint mark. That letter changes the entire conversation. Denver minted wheat pennies from 1953 were struck under heavy production stress. Quality control suffered. Many coins developed irregular toning early in life. Most were rejected by time, cleaned, polished, discarded. Survivors with original black spotting and honest circulation are shockingly rare. Flip the coin over, and the reverse tells the same story. The wheat stalks aren't bright. They're darkened, sometimes unevenly, with softened lines from wear. But collectors don't want shine, they want authenticity. They study the strength of the stalks, the clarity of 1 cent, the rim integrity. Those blackened areas, they signal untouched metal, proof the coin hasn't been messed with. Here's why survival is rare. People hate ugly coins. They clean them. They toss them. They assume they're worthless. Over decades, that instinct wiped out most original examples. That's why finding a circulated 1953 with D wheat penny with natural black spots, intact surfaces, and stable metal is like finding buried cash everyone else walked past. Collectors obsess over details most people never notice. Spot pattern consistency, whether the toning is raised or flat. How the mint mark aligns with the date. Subtle die wear from rushed production. These tiny clues separate a destroyed coin from a silent fortune. Auction behavior around this coin is intense but quiet. No hype, no shouting, just steady, aggressive bidding. Collectors don't flip this coin. They hold it. They know demand is rising while supply keeps shrinking, and once these are locked away, they rarely come back. Today, a genuine 1953 wheat penny with a D mint mark, circulated condition, original black spotting intact, carries a market value around $105 zeroth. That's serious money. Hidden wealth disguised as a mistake. A silent fortune people are accidentally losing every single day. If you find one, slow down. Check the date. Confirm the D mint mark. Look at the spots. Natural, dark, not scratched or polished. Never clean it. Ever. And don't rush to sell. Professional grading is critical because the market only trusts what can be proven. Patience is how collectors turn overlooked coins into life-changing money. Most people miss this. That's why this coin keeps shocking auctions. And stay with me, because the next coin we're exposing makes this one look tame. Rarer, riskier, and so easy to ignore, it's terrifying. Next up, this penny is dangerous because it looks safe. Clean enough. Normal enough. The kind of coin your brain instantly labels as nothing special. And that split-second judgment is how people lose a hidden big treasure without ever knowing it was there. The 1957 wheat penny with a D mint mark is one of those silent coins that slips through hands every day while collectors quietly panic when they see one handled carelessly. Do not spend this coin. This is the kind of penny that ruins your day after you find out what it was worth. 1957 was a year humming with pressure. America was deep in the Cold War mindset. The economy was moving fast. Confidence was high, and daily commerce was exploding. Pennies were needed everywhere. Vending machines, buses, grocery stores, payphones. At the Denver Mint, production was relentless. Coins were struck hard and fast. Dies were pushed beyond their comfort zone, and inspection took a back seat to speed. That environment creates rarity later, not because fewer were made, but because fewer survived correctly. Hold this coin, and it feels deceptively ordinary. About 3.11 grams of copper weight sits in your palm. The diameter is 19 millimeters, familiar enough to disappear into muscle memory. The thickness is roughly 1.55 millimeters, thin, easy to overlook, and the girth feels smooth and slightly rounded, softened by honest circulation. This is exactly how silent fortunes hide, by feeling normal. Look at the obverse, and Lincoln's portrait doesn't jump out at you. That's the trap. Collectors don't look for flash, they look for balance. The even wear across Lincoln's face, the clarity of the date, the strength of the lettering. Then the eye drops just below the year and locks onto it, the D mint mark. That single letter changes everything. Denver minted wheat pennies from 1957 are obsessively tracked because of how many were destroyed, altered, or cleaned later. Turn it over, and the reverse seals the story. The wheat stalks frame 1 cent, a design Americans were already about to lose forever. 1957 sits right at the edge of history, just 1 year before the wheat design vanished. Collectors feel that pressure emotionally. This isn't just a coin. It's one of the last quiet echoes of a disappearing era. The metal tells you even more. This penny is 95% copper with 5% tin and zinc, and copper records time like a memory. Original surfaces develop natural color, warm browns, darker fields, sometimes subtle red beneath. That skin matters more than shine. Never clean this coin. Cleaning strips away decades of authenticity and permanently kills value. Original toning isn't dirt, it's proof. Why is survival rare? Because 1957 pennies were everywhere. People hoarded them casually, then dumped them. Others polished them, thinking shiny meant better. Many were damaged, bent, or lost. Finding one today, in very fine condition, with original surfaces, honest wear, and no tampering, is where scarcity becomes real. Collectors fixate on tiny things most people never notice. The spacing of the date, the exact placement of the D mint mark, rim strength, die fatigue from non-stop production, slight softness in lettering that proves it hasn't been altered. These details trigger obsession, not logic. Auction behavior around this coin is intense but controlled. No hype, no noise, just quiet, competitive bidding. Collectors don't sell these quickly. They hold them, knowing demand keeps climbing while supply keeps shrinking. Once locked away, they rarely return to the market. Today, a genuine 1957 wheat penny with a D mint mark in very fine condition carries a market value around $120,000. That's serious money, silent fortune money, life-changing opportunity money hiding in plain sight while people spend it on coffee. If you ever find one, slow down. Check the date. Confirm the D mint mark. Study the surface. Natural color, no shine, no cleaning marks. Never clean it, ever. And don't rush. Professional grading is critical because patience is how collectors turn overlooked pennies into real wealth. Most people miss this. That's why this coin keeps shocking the market. And stay right here, because the next coin we're about to expose is rarer than this, easier to ignore, and has caused collectors to break their own rules just to get one. Next up, this penny carries danger in silence. The 1946 wheat penny with an S mint mark doesn't look rare, doesn't look fragile, doesn't look expensive. It looks tired, used, spent. And that's why people lose it without hesitation. This is one of those coins that slips out of circulation quietly and then explodes in value once collectors realize what just vanished. Do not spend this coin. This is hidden big treasure disguised as exhaustion. 1946 was a turning point year for the United States. World War II was officially over, but the pressure didn't disappear. It shifted. The economy surged. Soldiers returned home. Businesses reopened at full speed. Inflation anxiety lingered, and the demand for everyday coinage was intense. The San Francisco Mint, marked by that small S, was pushed hard to supply pennies for a nation racing forward. Speed mattered. Perfection didn't. And when mints operate under pressure, they accidentally create rarity. Hold this coin, and you'll feel the weight of survival. About 3.11 grams of copper sits in your hand. Not light, not heavy, just steady. The diameter is 19 millimeters, the classic Lincoln cent size, easy to mistake for any other penny. The thickness is roughly 1.55 millimeters, thin enough to disappear into circulation, and the girth feels smooth but softened, rounded by decades of use. This is exactly how a silent fortune hides, by feeling familiar. On the obverse, Lincoln's portrait looks worn but dignified. Collectors don't want sharp perfection here, they want honesty. They study the date spacing, the evenness of wear across Lincoln's face, and then their eyes drop below the year. That S-mint mark changes everything. San Francisco Wheat Pennies from 1946 are hunted because so many were used hard during post-war economic expansion. Survival today is the exception, not the rule. Flip the coin over, and the wheat stalks tell a quiet story. They're not bright. They're not crisp. They're softened, darkened, aged, and that's exactly what collectors want. The reverse design represents stability after chaos, a nation feeding itself again. This was money meant to move, not to be saved. And that's why so few remain today in original circulated condition. The metal composition explains the rest. This penny is 95% copper with 5% tin and zinc, and copper records every decade it lives through. Air, moisture, handling, they all leave their mark. Natural brown and darker toning isn't damage. It's proof. Never clean this coin. Cleaning erases history and destroys value instantly. Original surface matters more than shine, always. Why is this coin so rare today? Because 1946 pennies were everywhere, and then they were gone. They were spent aggressively in a booming economy, cleaned by curious hands, damaged by time, or simply worn down beyond recognition. Circulated examples that remain stable, original, and untouched are shockingly scarce. Collectors fixate on details most people never notice. The exact placement of the S-mint mark. Rim strength, dye fatigue from rushed production, slight softness in lettering that proves authenticity. These details create emotional demand, not logic. Auction behavior around this coin is intense but controlled. No hype, no shouting, just quiet, aggressive bidding. Collectors don't flip this penny. They hold it. They understand demand is climbing while supply is disappearing. And once these coins enter private collections, they almost never come back out. Today, a genuine 1946 wheat penny with an S-mint mark in circulated condition carries a market value around $155,000. That's serious money, life-changing opportunity money, a silent fortune hiding in plain sight while people spend it without blinking. If you ever come across one, slow down immediately. Check the date. Confirm the S-mint mark. Look at the surface. Natural color, no polish, no cleaning marks. Never clean it. Ever. Professional grading is critical because the market only trusts what can be verified. And patience. Patience is how collectors win. Final thought. The most dangerous coins aren't the shiny ones. They're the tired ones. The ones people ignore. The ones history tried to erase and failed. And don't go anywhere, because the next coin we're exposing makes this one look common, rarer, more shocking, and so easy to spend that it's terrifying.